Hi, I'm going to be working on these arborvitaes today. These are some tall, kind of unique looking trees. These are related to the western red cedars here in the Pacific Northwest. They have similar foliage, they have similar trunk color in that the bark is kind of a red, and they also are readily available here. So these actually were originally hedge plants that were probably 12 feet tall or so. They were kind of uncommon because they had a decent sized trunk. These usually have multiple stems just going all over. In fact, these branches now were upright stems, and I was able to pull those down over the years. Now what I need to do is get them into some pots that I like. I'm moving away from rectangular pots like this and actually go into some very unique different types of pots. So these are actually going to come out of the containers that they're in. This one's an actual ceramic bonsai container. This one's just a temporary shosugiban container made out of wood and burnt. Speaking of burnt, very different deadwood feature on these. These were inspired by a lightning storm that we had in 2019, and lightning strikes were happening, and it reminded me of times where I've seen lightning hit trees and it goes down and leaves a burnt mark on it. So that's what this is representing on these two trees. This one also has it that runs up to one side. And I have some very interesting way that I think I'm going to be able to make these work. So first thing I'm going to do is get them out of these pots, and then I'll show you what I'm up to. Alright, they're out of their pots. They have a pretty compact root system because they were in pretty small pots. This one you saw the pot it was in that rectangular pot. This other one had a deeper pot, but that was just a slip pot. I put it in, I think at the beginning of fall, because I wanted to do something different with that pot it was in. And so they both have very compact root systems, which is a good thing because you're going to see that I'm going to need that here in just a second. Let's have a look and see what I'm putting these into. Believe it or not, those trees are going in these. These are redwood slabs that were removed from the ground in the 70s, cut into slices, made into clocks, and they've been that way ever since until this last year where I found some and converted them into planting slabs. So this dark color is actually a char that I use by same process as a shosugiban, where I took a blowtorch and just torched them. Also added polyurethane layer. So they're going to be naturally rot resistant because it's redwood. And also that polyurethane and the shosugiban all combine together to make these pretty durable pieces. So this one, I actually put quite a big area for drainage under that. I'm going to have to put some drainage screen over it. This one just has a bunch of holes, so no drainage screen needed on that one. And I'm going to get these prepped, and you'll see what they're going to do. So I'm going to need a pretty big piece of drainage screen. Yeah, I think I'm going to use most of this piece just to make sure that it sits in there properly. This stuff's actually pretty cheap. Bonsai places sell this drainage screen as bonsai drainage screen, and it is actually marked up from the craft version of it. This is actually commonly found in craft stores and online. Forget what it's called. So this stuff is actually, it's just plastic drainage screen. It's not fancy. It's actually a craft item. It's commonly found online. So I'm going to attach this with a couple pieces of wire just to hold it down, and then I'm also going to put some tie-down wires in some of these holes that are around it. Okay, that one's got the drainage screen attached, and And now I'm going to put in some tie-in wires. I'm going to go pretty far out with the tie-in wires so that I can spread over this entire composition. So there it is with all the tie-in wires in the screen. The screen is covering that nice big hole. It's going to have tons of drainage, securely fastened with wire in a few spots. And I have some more fastening tie-in wires here on 4 different spots. So I have plenty to attach my tree firmly to this. I'm going to start by adding soil on the bottom here, and then I'm going to be placing the tree on this, and I'll be blocking it and tying it in and adding any sort of security that I can to it. The soil that I'm using is very barky. It's basically bark and pumice is the basis of this soil right here. Very good drainage. And also these trees grow in bark really well. They really seem to enjoy this bark. Okay, so that's a decent layer that's going to drain really well. Time for the tree. I'm excited about this. Basically what I'm doing is checking from all the different sides to see if this is as straight as I want it. If you're looking at it from the shot you're at right now, it does seem to lean one way, and I want this pretty much upright from all angles. Alright, that's pretty close. See if I can get this tied in here. I've gotten the habit of using just regular old bamboo chopsticks. If I have, say, fine roots out here on the side that I can't really tie down, I can take chopsticks and either jam them into the root ball or go over the roots and be able to tie that down pretty well. So I got these at the ready in case I need them. What I'm trying not to do is go over the roots right here, because these are going to be an exposed feature. This is going to be a raised part of the ground, and it's actually going to slope a little bit further out beyond the cutout for this slab here. It's going to go out here and be kind of moss covered. So that's going to be a bit of a hillside, and then this will slope down in here. So the last thing I want to do is really distract the eye from that by having a wire that goes over that. So this way is a good way to get around it. I'm going to be checking as I go, checking the wobble as I go. This side back here is a good candidate for chopstick, which I can jam in there and tie down. So basically with the chopstick, I'm just making a jam between the tree and the side of the pot, or in this case, the side of the slab. So put it on one side and it can't move to that side quite so much. And then you do another one on the opposite side just to wedge it right into place. That's decent. So usually what I'll do with a tree when I'm repotting it is to test to see if I have it in there secure enough, I will lift the tree. And if the pot comes with it, it's pretty good. If everything seems like it's going to fall off, I got more work to do. Let's test that theory out. Good. Now we fill in the gaps, get all of this soil kind of pushed down onto the roots and into the roots. In here where I have the deadwood, I'm actually going to put just plain old drainage stuff in there. I don't want water to collect too well there. So I'm going to actually start with that. And I'm sure that there will be some roots that go in and live in this area, but at least there won't be a whole lot of moisture there. And for that, I just use sifted pumice. This is the pumice that I mix in with the rest of my soil mix. So it's got no fines and no coarse pieces. This is just nice, even pieces that will drain really well. I will put a very light layer of soil over that just so it blends in with everything else. Alright, to start with, I'm going to basically get everything into the cutout of this slab that I've made, and then I'll go back later and actually do some sculpting with this, because I don't want it to look like it comes to the end of this. Some of this is actually going to go out a little further, like I was talking about this end. It's actually going to have a divot here that rises sharply. I'm just pushing this one in with my fingers because I left as many roots as I could. I didn't really cut any roots off of this. Didn't have a lot to begin with because it was in such small pots. So now this one has a considerably larger amount of space for its roots. Alright, so now I gotta get my moss, and I'm gonna be placing the moss, filling it in with some dirt, covering it in with some mossiness over here. This side's actually going to remain relatively black. I'm actually going to have some area over here that the moss is no longer growing, and some completely burnt out section right about in here on this corner, and maybe here like this backwards L shape. It'll be fun. I brought back with me a collection of rotten tree debris and also a variety of mosses and lichens that I have just growing around here. I got some of the silvery stuff, nice green carpety things, sphagnum moss. I got a good amount of interest to add to this, and I'm going to get going on that. Okay, now I got to remember I have one other plant to do. Also, I have the other tree that I'm going to put together at the same time, because I have both these slabs planned for them. This one looks like it used to be a root from something, and this would be very interesting to put in to either this one or the other one in some way. I'm not sure it really fits into this very well. It's kind of big. Honestly, that would be kind of interesting to have this other tree in the back that just wound up dying. So that's a possibility. Not sure I have a great way of tying that in, but that's kind of cool looking. This would actually look pretty good as maybe like a bridge here. And go from there to there, have a little bridge, coil the pour the soil surface up over that. I think I just like it up front. Alright, so I've got them on their slabs. They're both in there pretty securely. This one is, at least. This one's pretty secure. It doesn't have many thick roots to really hold it down really well. This one's somewhat secure, a little less so than the other one because it had a smaller, narrower pot than this one did. But they're both done. I mossed the surface and I went ahead and sprinkled a bunch of bark over it, some kind of sifted bark, because I don't want to have just a carpet of moss. I really want to have the look of forest floor there. So I'll probably be adding more bark here and there. I went and touched up some of this burnt area here, and also on this one, some of the burnt area. I guess if I had a turntable, I can show this a little bit better, but I'm going to show something just a little different. You want to see? Check this out. So that was the intention. I wanted to put these two pieces together as one, and they don't necessarily have a particular front, but when you're looking at it, they're flowing away from each other. It almost looks like it could have plausibly happened where a lightning strike hit one and the other at the same time. I may decide to connect a burn here in the center. Not really sure if that's going to happen down the road because this is still a work in progress. I'm developing this. But it's been fun, and it's definitely different. How about I take you on a little tour around the forest floor here? So I'll take these apart and I'll try to turn them around for you so you can see the different angles of these. And some of them I like more than others. Some of them, especially this big one, it gets to turn in a certain way, and I fall in love with this big tall tree. This other one needs a little bit more work to get to the detail that this one does, and they both need to grow out, fill out some foliage a little bit more. This big one, turn it around like that. It's got a lot of different sides going on, some different feels from each direction. There is no front on this tree. I showed it at that angle because that's one way that they fit really well and I can get it in the shot. I need a significantly large table to be able to display this, so that's a challenge. I could choose one angle, it'd probably be this. This is probably my preferred angle for it. You can see through to this little dead stump in the back. You can see most of the features on the tree. And so that's one of them that I really like. Also like that angle. It's a little bit different. It has more of a you're looking into a forest sort of look. This other one, it's almost the same height of trunk, but it's very different here in the bottom, and the burnout is quite different on the other side too. So this one, arguably the carving and burnout is a little more realistic than the other one. I have some good char marks up here at the top, but the trunk is really funky here at the bottom. So just a thick trunk that I'm imagining had a lot more coming out of one side. So these slabs were originally redwood burls that people used as clocks, and that's why they have this funny sort of shape here. This used to be completely flat, and on this side, same thing. That bottom used to be completely flat. So when I decided that I wanted to put these two pieces together, that's where I just kind of laid them over each other, drew a line, and then cut that same line so that they would have a similar fit. All right, so when these two are apart, you can't really tell so much that they might go together. And then you can just put them together like a puzzle piece. There's a little gap in between each one. I didn't want them to be exactly fit right. I wanted to have a little bit of edge undulation on there. So thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.